Polynesia, Oceania, and Australia have been put together because of two common characteristics. Besides, of course, the most of those countries are actually smaller or larger islands. First of all of the countries in these regions have at least in part Austronesian languages on their territories, and the second, very, very high linguistic diversity. Those areas, or this area, have a relatively large number of inhabitants, more than 500 million. But, as I said, a large number of languages, more than 1,000 languages, is spoken in this area. It is also known by the fact that two countries with the most number of languages are actually in this area. There is Indonesia with more than 700 languages, but 400 millions of inhabitants, but also Papua New Guinea with 800 languages and just 4 millions of speakers, 4 millions of inhabitants. This area also has a lot of languages with very small number of speakers. The lowest number of speakers per language is actually in Australia. There are a lot of languages, but the most of them with tens or at most hundreds of speakers. But also there are a number of languages with millions of speakers, but without Wikipedia. So this area will be actually high priority in going there and creating Wikipedias. South Asia is a bit broader defined here than it is usually. Usually South Asia means just former British colony, British India. However, because the other countries, neighboring countries at the west of India and Pakistan are linguistically different from the neighboring areas, I included them into this group. So those are Afghanistan, Iran, and former Soviet Republic Tajikistan, where dominant languages are Iranian. This area doesn't have a lot of countries, but it has a very large population, more than around 1.5 billion, and it has a lot of languages. Most of them, actually almost 100%, are Indo-Iranian languages and Dravidian languages. Afroasiatic area is a bit broader definition of what we know as Arabic area, because it includes countries at the edge of Sahara in the middle of Africa. In those countries, Afroasiatic languages are also dominant. Besides, Afroasiatic languages like Semitic, Berberic, and similar are. There is another primary language group, mostly inside of this area, and those are Nilo-Saharan languages. There are a number of languages here, but not as much as in other areas. The next area is Sub-Saharan Africa. It is a large area with a lot of countries, with numerous population. Okay, not so numerous as in India and East Asia, but numerous, with very high linguistic diversity, although mostly inside of one large primary group, and it is Niger-Congo language group. One of Niger-Congo language group is more known as Bantu language group, but also with Khoisan languages in Namibia and native Indo-European language in South Africa, Afrikaans. As we will see, this area is a kind of high priority, because a lot of languages which are able to survive, those languages with a lot of speakers, millions of speakers, are actually here in Sub-Saharan Africa. And finally, there are Americas. I split them not just linguistically, because usually Latin America could mean French-speaking areas, but also by economic predispositions. Those areas with English and French and also Dutch as commonly spoken languages have actually better possibility for economic development. So there are two areas. One is so-called Latin America, where two dominant languages are spoken, Spanish and Portuguese, and the other is Anglo-French America, where 2 or 3 or 4 dominant other languages are spoken, and those are English, French, Dutch, and very, very sparsely Danish in Greenland, of course. So Latin America is interesting because there are a lot of native languages survive there. However, the most of them are very small. Large languages have just a couple of millions of speakers. There are many languages inside of Amazon. Likely some of them are unknown. There are also languages with much smaller population, but a lot of them have a chance to survive. However, a lot of them don't have a chance to survive. So in this area we should be careful in analyzing the situation and making priorities, which language would be covered first, which language would be covered after that. Anglo-French Americas has a number of languages, but those languages are spoken with at most a couple of hundreds of people. The most of them have the speakers of the most of them have good economic situation. However, those languages are in a not so good situation because of dominance of English, most of all. and the most of speakers, as you could see, as you will be able to see later, are actually bilinguals. Actually, not the most. All of the speakers of native American languages from United States and Canada are bilingual. So, however, those languages actually have behind themselves good economic situation, and in this approach, they are not likely to be high priority.